television no enti was also subscribe to the YouTube channel no like ya follow the Facebook page say the bear ada woni fie kra na e call live baby a wo bia no obetumi ahwe bi enti ko Facebook at Active TV Ghana at Active TV Ghana. Okay, don't forget say the obemu ye hu say Active TV and I say you be hu say Active TV and I wo hwe no say yan sense there ye logo no any red and white no that was say the da TV no top right corner hono no sa NC etie Facebook or at Active TV Ghana. Okay, na wa like page no or like if you comment efato ho na afi share echo groups ahodo nyina Facebook other groups ahodo awo mu we start na ade WhatsApp babia group bia wo bia no na wa share etumi de call na obi anso etumi enya enkomotwetwe ne bi etumi etie sanso na YouTube enso the same logo any red and white eye no eno ankasa da ho se dem di kan da TV no esoro ho no saa da YouTube ho so na oko YouTube na Active TV GH Active TV GH one word obeboni na abom na chese wohu na wa subscribe page no umia subscription button ne so wi abon say adoma bi bell bi eda nchen mi abel ne so na eno so fato all o de to all ada ne dey na ye call life wonsa ebetumi aka na bibia nso so etumi akoso e ho so no obetumi agya comment e wo ho ye be kan na afi nso so watumi a share page no share ko groups ahodo nyina ne ba bia wo share ko a ebe ye bia all platforms na obi anso so enya bi na bibia nso so entumi enye kama before say ye be ko any topic ne so no Madam Rebecca Brown o ga odumase he ya oben Active TV he ya Madam Rebecca Brown dodo na afrel antenna oba ligi anase maame ligi maame eno a na odi wa woda eno a jesenema etumi ekoyi o hwehwe white a o chinji no ho be 7 times ni na no de kan se nyame sha eno so Active TV ye da se se won so afa abo obo se de one Active TV ene be di birthday anti na Madam Rebecca Brown o so nyame sha pa eno ade o ye ma ye no ye ni eso onto kwanem na o ma wa hoden na bibia entumi enkoso. And okay, once again, you need an answer for Comonema or mine to me fan and to my pa Eddie Afra. And then maybe sir, and I said, me say, yes, share in and say, the dangers of economic crisis, the dangers of economic crisis, let's beware. And any topic I pay here discuss it, the dangers of economic crisis, let's beware. In soon so bonne and I said, ye who a woman say, or maybe a mube din and I saw mine beko him. Eba na sa niema bibiri enetumi edeba. On this note, ya be share Sri Lanka the etumi kofa crisis eba Sri Lanka ebra economy no it was being mismanaged by the leaders. Na ya share crisis ne ba Sri Lanka no what the citizens ran say timemfo Sri Lanka anamon ben eno mutumi etuye ye mo sa videos we nyina for any agenda ye boss videos we nyina so that a caution. That is why I said the dangers of economic crisis. Let's beware. Oko to say, wadan for abodri Asia. The obeya say, obe sense the esi because if you are the next person, eyewo. Samson oko to say abo bi ti unu aso en kase he sorry ne so kase sorry en so because of the feeling so the beba also. We nyina ye niema ye sua bibi e de afrim de si Sri Lanka. Said the beya economic crisis adabia ye complain no ye betumi anya adisua de ani wom ne ye be hwe video bi so e wo Rwanda Paul Kagame e ba ye niema kakra bi a Rwanda etete pansam ye obeputu in place ama Rwanda country no etumi affect. But in management of economic crisis now you need leaders with certain qualities because oman bia ebetumpon a entumpon a ni na no has to do with the leaders. So for good leadership, you need to get certain qualities. You better qualities in kakra. But answer no, producer, Ghana is a Christian country. That is why we swear with the Bible. You share Proverbs 29:2. You share these few two Bible quotations. Now you dive into yes. Producer Namisa, Ghana, yes, of course, we swear by the Bible and the Quran. So Ghana is not only a Christian country, it's rather a secular country, but we swear with the Bible, we swear with the Quran, whatever it is. So on that note, let me channel to the Christian aspect where the President of the Republic swear with the Bible. And the producer, you can share with Proverbs 22:9. You share, you projecting an answer for one kind be. Was it when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, But when a wicked man rules, the people groan. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when a wicked man rules, the people groan. Ọbẹsọ ọkyẹ sẹ ọtínìní ọkàn other Bible versions ni bi a sẹ ọtínìní anase sẹ onyansafoɔ edi ɔman so a emu timamufoɔ anase emu nipa no anigye na emom sɛ otirimɔdenfoɔ di adeɛ a ɔman ni twa adwadwo ɔman ne brɛ emu nipa esu nti ɔman biara ɛnɛyi especially those countries with every natural resource bi ɔmo wɔ ɔman biara ɛnɛyi ɛwɔ wiase a emu nipa ɛbrɛ esu edi apinisi edi awerɛhoɔ na ɔman na ahokyere wɔ mu no ɛyɛ because of the leadership. Now producer I heard the next quotation yanko the next quotation Proverbs 19:20-21 was say listen to counsel and receive instruction that you may be wise in your latter days. Listen to counsel and seek instruction that you may be wise in your latter days. There are many plans in a man's heart, nevertheless the Lord's counsel that will stand. Wɔsi tie afutuo ɛne nkyerɛkyerɛ na wayɛ nyansafoɔ. It means onipa bi a ɔte ase a wɔntie afutuo ntie nkyerɛkyerɛ no onye nyansafoɔ onimu nyansa. Ɛnyɛ nipa akwan so na ebegyina ɛyɛ Awurade akwan ɛna ebegyina. Dangers of economic crisis. Let's beware. There are several indications eba oman bia mu a eche se oman no esi apene na oman no esi apene a enema bi ho a ehu a ewo se oman no ani ekọ ho. It happened in Sri Lanka. Ni na has to do with the leaders. Medical ka se oman no be kọ yie, oman bia enko ye a eyemu leadership. People in authority. That is why I started with that particular quotation. And the producer, you share some qualities of good leadership. And so we are other videos. Or maybe it has to do with the leaders. Producer, you share qualities of good leadership. When you are a leader, you need to possess, and I say you need to have certain qualities or abilities. Before, if you don't have those qualities and abilities, woman ebebre, or mine bra, the country goes into crisis. When the country goes into crisis, a whole lot of dangers and Producer, you share a particular video. You need a phone call on you.
Hello, I'm Brian Tracy, and I want to talk to you now about leadership qualities. More than 50 qualities have been identified that are important to great leaders. But there are 7 leadership qualities that seem to stand out as being more important than the others. The good news is that each of these leadership qualities can be learned, and they must be learned by practice and repetition. First of all, great leaders have vision. They can see into the future. They have a clear, exciting idea of where they are going and what they're trying to accomplish, and they're excellent at strategic planning in getting there. Now, this quality of vision separates them from managers. Having a clear vision turns the individual into a special type of person. This quality of vision changes a transactional manager, someone who works with people to get the job done, into a transformational leader, someone who transforms the future of the business. While a manager gets the job done, great leaders tap into the emotions of their employees. Now, the second quality of a great leader is courage. The quality of courage means that you are willing to take risks in the achievement of your goals with no assurance of success. Because there's no certainty in life or business, every commitment you make and every action you take entails a risk of some kind. Among the 7 leadership qualities, courage is the most outwardly identifiable trait of a leader. The third quality is integrity. In every strategic planning session that I've conducted for large and small corporations, the first value that all the gathered executives agree upon for their company is integrity. They all agree on the importance of complete honesty in everything they do, both internally and externally. The core of integrity is truthfulness. Integrity requires that you always tell the truth to all people in every situation. Truthfulness is the foundation quality of the trust that is necessary for the success of any business. The fourth quality of a great leader is humility. Great leaders are those who are strong and decisive, but also humble. Humility doesn't mean that you're weak or unsure of yourself. It means that you have the self-confidence and self-awareness to recognize the value of others without feeling threatened. It means that you are willing to admit that you could be wrong, that you recognize you may not have all the answers. And it means that you give credit where credit is due. The fifth quality is strategic planning. Great leaders are also outstanding at strategic planning. They have the ability to look ahead, to anticipate with some accuracy where the industry and the markets are going. Leaders have the ability to anticipate trends well in advance of their competitors. They continually ask, based on what is happening today, where is the market going? Where is it likely to be in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and 2 years? What will customers want? And they do this through thoughtful strategic planning. Leaders always focus on the needs of the company and the situation. Leaders focus on results, on what must be achieved by themselves and by others and by the company. Great leaders focus on strengths in themselves and in others. They focus on the strengths of the organization, on the things that the company does best in satisfying demanding customers in a competitive marketplace. Your ability as a leader to call the shots and make sure that everyone is focused and concentrated on the most valuable use of their time is essential to the excellent performance of your company. The most important contribution you can make to your company is to be a leader, to accept responsibility for results, and to dare to go forward. Now, thank you for watching this video on leadership qualities. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button below and click on the link on the screen to subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Okay, so producer Nami Inshaw. Enti, the economy be facing crisis. I intentionally played this video so that Obiabe who said there are some qualities when leaders possess, and I say when leaders are having those qualities, it will be very difficult for some economies to enter into some crisis, because the measures every leader will put in place and no NHA the direction or minor ebeko measures every leader will put in place, the policies and no NHA say yes of course or minor ebeye papa and also minor nye papa. Now, talking about what happened in Sri Lanka, and I'm not going to play this video to incite any form of violence. May boss our video so that we will learn from it. That is why I say, done for about the says here. No sense we learn from this things. So the way a manner you manage Sri Lanka economy, now they were always complaining, crisis, and Emma shortages of food. Say, citizens were complaining, and they cover a whole lot of troubles. This is just to say that, say, you are not careful. Now you ensure and may be unfair and free, which of course we can learn. So we have to deduce whatever happened. These are problems where you know whatever brings about economic crisis in then we learn from it so that dangers are every economy in the world able to me facing when there are crises, that dangers, it won't hit us. And I say it won't hit any other economy. So there are certain things when leaders do. That is why I intentionally played the first video. There are certain things that when leaders do, leaders with vision, they make sure say the direction they go, and I say the direction they work towards, a direction it is for the development and for the fixing of a particular country, not for any other thing. So this is what happened in Sri Lanka. People were protesting. Hard times. But government refused to listen. So we have to learn from this particular video that what happened in Sri Lanka when economic crisis, yes, of course, Haiti we are seeing now, but there are certain things, there are certain measures we can learn from in order not to be captured at that particular side. So when Sri Lanka's economy was mismanaged, producer any kind what led to the mismanagement of Sri Lanka's economy? Then we learn from it.
On March 31st, hundreds of protesters gathered outside Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's residence in Colombo. Many in the crowd were holding posters with anti-government slogans and were chanting "Gota Go Home" in Sinhala. The protesters demanded that the government step down immediately for mishandling the country's economy. A day after, President Rajapaksa declared a state of emergency. Sri Lanka is witnessing its worst economic crisis since independence. The island nation had announced a nationwide 13-hour daily power cut from March 31st. There is an acute shortage of food, fuel, and cooking gas. Several hospitals have had to suspend routine surgeries as they have run out of life-saving medicines. Authorities had to cancel examinations for millions of students due to a shortage of paper. During the first wave of the pandemic, thousands of Sri Lankan labourers working in several West Asian countries were forced to return home. The pandemic meant that the garment factories and tea estates in Sri Lanka could not function. All the key foreign exchange earning sectors such as exports, remittances, tourism were brutally hit. In response, the government adopted various policy decisions that were widely deemed ill-advised, like the last year's blanket ban on chemical fertilizers that crippled the agricultural sector. The Russia-Ukraine war has also added to the country's problems. Sri Lanka is dependent on the two countries for tourism and exports. It also imports almost half of its wheat and sunflower oil from them. In August 2021, the government declared emergency regulations for the distribution of essential food items to save dollars. This led to consequent market irregularities and reported hoarding. By the end of 2021, the country's foreign reserves plummeted to $1.6 billion. The country's foreign reserves stood at $2.31 billion at the end of February. Sri Lanka has to repay foreign debt totaling nearly $7 billion this year. President Rajapaksa recently said that the country will incur an import bill of $22 billion this year, resulting in a trade deficit of $10 billion. The country is in talks with the International Monetary Fund for possible loan assistance. India has extended assistance totaling $2.4 billion. This includes a $400 million RBI currency swap, a $500 million loan deferment, and credit lines for importing food, fuel, and medicines. China is also considering a fresh request from Colombo for $2.5 billion in assistance. Experts say that Sri Lanka's recovery will neither be fast nor easy.
Okay, so that is what happened. So one, a global crisis, everybody understands. But like I said earlier on, say government policies, and no nebe to me abua, and no nebe to me how the economy can be managed. A good government policies. Now, Russia-Ukraine war, across Sri Lanka, 80% of the country's imports, and never be bring omu issue of Sri Lanka. Free Russia and Ukraine, 80% and Aeba. So they depend on Russia and Ukraine to survive. Now, COVID and so by ebe hitting. Nina no ke kambu mwa ema. The rate at which government was spending, abayin ebo bosia, enema buo ekoso, abayin initiatives bebriye awadeba aye nyina. It ended Sri Lanka going to IMF to borrow. already na eka abanya body ato wa Sri Lanka enye kaketwa. So when you know they had no option than to go to IMF. Just like Ghana, we have no option now than going to IMF. All this need now ABM about the dangers of economic crisis. America say we have to beware. So we rather have to learn lessons from this. Etini inani kotwehia ya ma aban no mismanage economy ni saa etoto niema paapa so saa ma ni kowie se eka amene Sri Lanka for ematimamufo for a long period of time. Power outage, light to me cut off. Na nsuo enema ho ayeden, aduane bo ayeden. Na Sri Lanka citizens, they were struggling. Omo bre no omo nya aduane adi, omo bre no omo nya nkane ade aye omo daily activities. Bibia aye basa wo man nim kodu mpempen so say aban who said no, it was all called IMF. Just like Ghana, if you say nema moye den, nema boye den, na omine war crisis, na Ghana, echo IMF. Now after that, producer, the next video, what happened? Sri Lanka.
Burning fury for all to see. The Sri Lankan Prime Minister's house set alight. Flames fueled by protesters' anger at economic mismanagement that's left many suffering.
It's become the norm now to see people staying and sleeping in vehicles to get fuel, and that ranges from 3 to 4 days sometimes. Many actually walked for hours to get to the protest sites.
The president's office was also stormed. There was an impromptu pool party at the palace. It's rumoured the president's taken to the high waters as his country finds itself politically and economically all at sea.
It's time that we got all our stolen money back to this country. And also the air conditions are running in that presidential palace while people don't have electricity in their homes.
It's a far cry from the once blossoming tourist hotspot, a country of 22 million people recovering from a brutal civil war, which has been ruled by the Rajapaksa brothers for years.
They embodied three things that have brought Sri Lanka down. The first is authoritarianism, the second is corruption, and the third is ethnic chauvinism.
Now, foreign currencies running dry, hampering imports of food, fuel and medicine, and forcing schools to close. At the beginning of April, angry protests prompted a state of emergency. 12 days later, the government could not pay its foreign debt for the first time in its history. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa resigned in May. A month on, the UN warned of a humanitarian emergency. Now, with the storming of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's home, Parliament Speaker has this message from the President.
He asked me to tell the country that he will resign on the 13th of July, on Wednesday, to ensure a peaceful handover of power. Therefore, there is no need to destabilise the country any longer.
These protests have achieved the resignations of both the Prime Minister and President. But whoever takes over will inherit a humanitarian and law and order crisis, as they are urged to restore stability quickly by the United States and the IMF, so that talks on a bailout package can resume.
So this is what happened in Sri Lanka. Abra economic crisis ebaye. Poor who say a man for them or mujari if you know no woman the president of Sri Lanka and if and a man for koye protest and they did the protest because omufi say enema boye din. They did the protest because omufi say o man no mutina say ahokire ewo ho and mo ye protest. Now because of the crisis inti ema forcing schools ema close down. Inti shut down schools Sri Lanka. And the Sri Lanka ko IMF. Getting a nyan for other citizens across why a problem until living in Sri Lanka became hell for Sri Lankan citizens. That is why omoti omungu mountain so that particular protest say abanya wotie dwa so emfiri akunyam anaso omfiri na akonya so na obi from na oman no fa ntuma pamfamfira na economic crisis are the sitting president of Sri Lanka e the abre omuno free one no obi foforo ba. So that is what happened in Sri Lanka. Now, me and Cameroon say yes, of course. I was saying, omuye peaceful balloting now say nkomo gina so na nkomo de to aba and all that. They should have called for voting and balloting rather, so that anka ebeye peace. But because of the hardship, to me and condone anymore. Because of say they had no other option. They couldn't wait. They thought say protesting against the sitting president and the sitting administration was the best. And it omuye protest. Editia omampenyo was Sri Lanka because they couldn't bear the hardship anymore. And anka it could be say balloting when it comes to the change of government. So I am subscribing to it. Say, in the change of government, there should be balloting. There should be voting. Because that is the peaceful way. And yen toka. Nanki ya tuaba. Omampenyi yen niyema nye tise Sri Lanka. Nanka oma tuaba. No omayi omampenyi friho. But they decided to protest, which I am against the protest because demonstration ni protest ebema lives amanfo be lusu omonkwa ebema omani properties bebre asay ebe say niema ebema niema ye basaye wo omanim. So I subscribe say they should have rather go for balloting by voting so that there will be peace. But that is what happened in Sri Lanka. Ama ene Sri Lanka omani collapse. But that notwithstanding, there are several things omani bia na hia sia ebetumi a revive. Because Oko Rwanda just in 94, Rwanda then tokwa basa ACA. But Paul Kagame put a whole lot of things in place to fix Rwandan economy back. Producer, video now already. I am fire last video.
Growth has come at the expense of civil liberties.
I think that Rwanda has a lot to do in terms of building question of freedom of expression.
Growth has come at the expense of civil liberties.
I think that Rwanda has a lot to do in terms of building question of freedom of expression in the country. That has not been encouraged by the current presidency, and it is one which needs to be there.
Kagame has also been accused of trying to create a dictatorship and suppressing political opposition. Some of his opponents have been killed abroad after fleeing the country. His government denies involvement, and those cases remain unsolved. For now, Kagame remains defiant. Solved. For now, Kagame solved. For now, Kagame remains defiant. The economy for its incredible turnaround. A genocide in 1994 left Rwanda in tatters, but 23 years on, it's one of Africa's fastest growing economies. Poverty and child mortality have fallen sharply, helped by the government's commitment to spend more on healthcare and education. And the mastermind credited for that change is rebel-turned-president Paul Kagame. Since taking power in 2000, Kagame has helped lift Rwanda's economic growth. His disciplined economic planning and good cooperation with the West has attracted foreign aid and investors. But Kagame thinks his job is not over.
We are sharing the joy that our country has progressed. We want to maintain and protect this unity, and we will continue to build our country.
Kagame recently launched a Made in Rwanda program with plans to boost support for local industries and spur entrepreneurs to do business in the country. The One Laptop Per Child program he spearheaded in 2010 continues to shape his bottom-up vision to turn Rwanda into a knowledge-based economy. Kagame's plans paint a rosy picture, but human rights groups say the growth has come at the expense of civil liberties.
I think that Rwanda has a lot to do in terms of building question of freedom.
Osha, Paul Kagame said in genocide and Tokwa about Rwanda ending 94. Na Kagame ba just 2000. And Uko Rwanda, that is how economies can be fixed so that there won't be any form of crisis beyond, there won't be any protest against anybody. So Paul Kagame making sure say the policies are there will be policies about bringing all investors into Rwanda, because when investors enter Rwanda, a pompisi kabel krum, open more employment opportunities ema Rwanda citizens enya adwuma ye it because of all these policies Paul Kagame dey buy into na uko Rwanda motor bikes are uhuye Rwanda ye uko Rwanda transportation are very easy because now omo ankasa manufacture electric buses at Rwanda universities use uko Rwanda mobile phones na no masase so a whole lot housing affordable housing ni na Paul Kagame buy and to kwantokwa Rwanda no that is how we transform the economy. Rwanda in crisis then and now Rwanda one of the finest developing economies in Africa now obebo Rwanda din because of one particular leader. That is why qualities of a good leader first. Now you have seen a the crisis in ebeba and when crisis come the type of leader we here in a country to make sure say he will take the country out of the crisis our minor FAC so that the country will stand on its own. No minor to me abeyo mind papa me citizens and also to me at to avoid further protests. Into what you say the kofa leader a good leader the obey to me aye the kofa Sri Lanka protest edeba how the economy was mismanaged and a cow mokofa Sri Lanka they call IMF ekofa protest by now what's after genocide you see Rwanda when how Paul Kagame ni leadership skills policies esibe ema ene Rwanda asanfa into mapa edefra so we you judge and you make the conclusions yourself yemfa AC ahanum semedin ede Anok Clement the youth advocate truth will always defeat lies one kasa tinefi share videos no one kasa make your judgment one kasa make your conclusions na make your judgment obia entumi enchel de wadwen etumi eyo na mom no kra ne de will always give to you mamena production queue ni na ase wisdom etumi ehwe yen floor e manage etumi edema sanso na Moses da wusu ehwe yen camera work ehwe yen lightning ene yen MCA enso my two suite nyame Asia fenso Clifford Adombire ehwe yen social media my Johnson John Laporte enso the sports update ebre yen ema mame Abena Fabia Kenten enso so the entertainment update ebre ejeni maje buaten etina so nim edandan no ma bibia enso so etumi eye kama enso Apostle General Chama 1 onso so dami dey na no utumi etenetene yen na ade okwawe ntaban utumi ede kan ye ho na de ne dey na obo ye ho ban na abusua no etumi egro onso a wo fie a utumi ehwe yen wa wo frɛ ye wa wantumi amfrɛ wa wo send a message wa wantumi ansend a message munyina wo opepa wo di tumi papa anase wo di anigye wo di odo edita adwumadie na chi wonso so nyame nhia na meka se dani dey na akoso na hwɛ Active TV na bibia nso so entumi nya kama still na obe follow YouTube obe subscribe to the page Active TV GH okwa eni no eda ho red and white eye eno eda ho no ma umia bell ne so bell be that right and umia so a na wa subscribe to the page na ode ato all ode to adan day na on sabe to me akan live programs also na Facebook at Active TV Ghana and also kwa the same logo and red and white or like page na ni na we are share both YouTube and Facebook ni na bibia nso so into me enkoso make out say Active Media Active Brains Consultancy Services a year 6 months intensive practical media training no share last week our classes no and I say training no AC air course tim so baby a wo bia no I walk straight to the premises of Active TV e wogan Odumase Junction in between Pokuase ne Ablekuma ufri eye Pokuase e kwa Ablekuma usu besi Odumase Junction ufri Ablekuma e ko Pokuase nso a usu besi Odumase Junction usi a no wabisa Active TV okada fo ne wo ombetumi a che no abefa registration forms 50 Ghana cedis school fees ne so ne bo no eda formal training no ahya 90% practical ye chere say the city broadcast journalism, newspaper reporting and writing, editing, ye chere camera handling, video shooting and editing, graphic designing, makeup, MCR, lighting, bibia ye chere ni na now so oni so ade hunu say djuma na so betumi enya nimdie no now so wonsa etumi akana bibia so etumi aya kama enso so e dia mantimi show Active Media number no the screen is no ofa emu bia o testi emu bia o WhatsApp emu bia na o free emu bia empanifo no betwetwe nkomo na wagi nchemu ahodo ina na bibia so etumi akoso e dia ma ene ye de ebesi na say de da ne da ina ye no no o yo man Ghana ni na woyɛ Ghana ni ma pa ogye tum so woyɛ Ghana ni no anama wutuo udwumadi a wudie unsusuye wade bi a woyɛ bi a sɛ ɛboa ama ɔman no akɔso a nyame ontua oka na woyɛ Ghana ni na unsusuye wadwen wanamɔ wadwuma bi a woyɛ bi no sɛ ɛmoa ɛma ɔman no ɛnkɔso a onsu nyame ntua oka nyame ntua obi aka sɛ de na adwuma te.
Arise, Ghana youth, for your country. The nation demands your devotion. Let us all unite to uphold her and make her great and strong. Arise, Ghana youth, for your country. The nation demands your devotion. Let